Welcome back to the Overt Thinking Podcast, the show where we untangle all the chaos in your brain so you can actually make real progress.
Today, we're tackling a hot one: processed foods, seed oils, and what the heck are you even allowed to eat these days? These topics have become everyone's favorite villain, but are they really a problem? Or are they just an easy distraction from what really impacts your health?
Before we dive in, we just want to say thank you. Whether you've been rocking with us from day one or you're brand new here, we're so glad you're listening. Like any good thing, this podcast has been a work in progress, and each week we're refining it to bring you smarter, sharper, and more fun episodes. If you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to us if you'd leave a rating or shared it with a friend. It helps us reach more people who are tired of the same BS you've been fed and just want to be real and have evidence based information. No more diet culture attached.
We love
But
it.
first,
But first,
I want you to deliver our this or that or icebreaker today.
okay. I feel like I was inspired by this one, and it would be this is not a this or that. It's what would your last meal on earth be, and who would you share it with?
My last meal on earth would be something like, okay, can I go like top to bottom with like appetizer, like cocktail appetizer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to know its
Okay, I'm
specifics.
going to go.
I wanna know set and setting, who you have it with.
Okay.
Tell me everything.
Okay, well, actually, I kind of did a version of this before I left for San Diego, but I went to Buena Forqueta, which is right around the corner from you in South Park, San Diego. Um,
Yep.
would go to Buena Forqueta. Well, actually, before I'd go there, I go across the street to Kindred, which is a super like
Mm.
moody, like I think it's like a plant-based restaurant, but it's very like
It's a
moody.
heavy metal vegan restaurant,
Yes, so I'd get a
which is so cool.
martini there, maybe two, but probably just one. One martini. They make a great martini. Then I walk across the street to Buena Forqueta. I would get some sort of like. Actually, I don't even know what the appetizers they have. I'm really just thinking about the meal. I get a gluten-free pizza with their vegan cheese. And it would be like something like kind of sweet and savory. So like a fig,
Mm,
arugula, prosciutto type situation.
I'm
And
into it.
then I would get the gluten-free pesto pasta. I think they just have like a penne, but it's like incredible, incredible pesto with salmon on top. And their like salmon
Mm.
side is like a full ass fillet of salmon with like crispy skin.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. And so for dessert, then I would go back across the street down to Stella Jean's and get
Yeah,
like we
buddy.
did and get probably
Yeah.
1 to 3 scoops of dairy-free ice cream.
You know what? It's your last meal, which means you're probably gonna die, so you gotta go 3 scoops.
Okay, also, the appetizer would have been a massive joint or
Ooh,
bloody.
hell yeah. That's the aperitif. Does
Aperitif,
aperitif come before, or is that after?
yes.
Yep, sure.
Yep.
I love it. That's a good plan. I would love to join you on
Yeah,
that.
you'll be there. What
Who
would be yours?
who else would you share this meal with? Last meal on earth.
I would say you. Can you imagine what we would talk about?
So many
I did
things.
say in here, I was like, "Okay, no, like, friend or, like, partner." So if I were to choose, like, an outside truly outside person,
Mm.
um, I'd have to say Megan Thee Stallion. I mean, her episode on Love Island made me just want to, like, be in her presence, in her aura.
She was on Love Island.
She was on Love Island.
Well, now I wanna watch that show. I'm not a big reality show gal, but, like, I would watch it for Meg.
I would watch that one episode. You'll learn everything you need to know in that one episode.
I can handle that.
Yeah. What would be yours?
My last meal on earth is definitely going to be joint by far, like the fattest, strongest joint that I can get. Um, then I'm probably going to have like miles of sushi, like
Mm.
sushi nigiri, not rolls because I can't really eat a lot of rolls because you just get full too fast. I want sushi nigiri and I want to crush it. Like
How many pieces we
also
talking?
salmon nigiri is the pinnacle salmon sushi technology. I probably could eat somewhere between 30 to 40 pieces of nigiri by myself,
Hell yeah.
especially if it's my last meal and no holds bar. Like, absolutely.
Do you think you'd go up to 50?
So I would sure try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what would be the
I guess it
ratio of different types of fish on your nigiri?
I mean, like I said, salmon is the pinnacle of sushi technology, but I'd also fuck with some eel. I'd
Mhm.
also fuck with some tuna, toro specifically. If you've never had toro, it's basically like the wagyu of sushi. It's like fatty and delicious
Mm.
and oh,
Melt in
so
your
good.
mouth.
Melts in your mouth.
Mm.
I like yellowtail, but anytime I'm like eating those other flavors, I'm like, yep, it's great, but like I want the salmon.
You have to, like, start with the yellowtail, and then but then it's like, "How much of this do I want? I need to save room for the salmon." It's tough.
Absolutely. Yeah, these are the things that I constantly overthink.
Yeah, I think that the approach would be, like, one of each to start, and then do a couple more yellowtail, and then go just hardcore in the paint with salmon.
Absolutely. Whenever we make sushi at home, I always reserve like the best looking piece as my like final bite. Do you ever do that with like your food or is it just
For
me?
sure. I'm doing mental math. I'm doing mental math during my plate to make sure I make the
Yeah.
perfect bite every time, but also have enough
Yeah.
left for that same ratio on my last bite.
Yeah. We just need to talk about the perfect bite. Like the perfect bite exists in every meal. Even if you're eating like your bowl of shit, like meal prep, like the perfect combo of rice, meat, salad mix, or whatever you have is just like when you get it, you're like, yep, that was it.
So elite. I feel like the first and last bite should look similar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I agree.
Like, kinda like your first and last rep should kinda, like, look similar. It's like
Yeah.
the middle of the meal, things can get squirrely. I might add some tortilla chips here and there, well, who knows? But, like, the last bite and the first bite need to be, like, the best.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
agree.
let's talk about food because both of our meals seem like, faves. Sushi, Italian food, but those are typically foods that we get out, except for if you live
Mhm.
in Kelsey and Seth's house and you make sushi at least once a week. That's a
Yes.
luxury. But not everybody can do that. So today we're going to talk a little bit about food processing. What does it mean when we say processed foods? It can get a little convoluted because all food is processed to some degree, right? So even if Kelsey is making her sushi nigiri at home versus, out, there's like most food is processed to some degree. And if you're not out here milking your own cow at 5 a.m. or digging up potatoes in your backyard for every meal, um, unless in which case you are, tell us your ways. We're going to teach you what food processing really means and how to kind of structure your meals in a way that honors the types of foods you're eating and where you're getting them.
And also doesn't villainize everything, right? Because I think social media has a way of, like, categorizing things as good or bad, and then there's this, like, moral objective that you have to try to achieve, and you never feel good enough. So that's kinda what the point of this episode is today. So with that said, the way that the public and social media demonize processed food kind of captures many foods under this villainous umbrella, that doesn't really help anyone out when they're trying to affect change on your own health or your body composition. So when someone says avoid processed foods, should we listen? Let's get into it.
All right. Before we get into the actual specific levels, let's talk about what processing means. Processing can just mean washing, it can mean chopping, freezing, canning, even pasteurized milk. It's not just about, Doritos and soda being processed foods. It's actually about how many steps it took to get from the original ingredient where it was sourced to the final product of how it gets into your hands. So again, like if I buy blueberries and wash them, that could be considered processing in a way, but you and I both know that blueberries are not a processed food.
Right. Also, fun fact, did you know that breakfast cereals were originally created and fortified with various nutrients like vitamin C, to fight scurvy, or B12 to fight various like blood disorders. So this helped tackle nutrient deficiencies in the 20th century, so not that long ago. And processing literally has improved public health for that reason.
Mm,
So industries use various processes to improve taste, improve or preserve nutritional content, or even add nutritional content, and protect integrity and the quality of the foods on the shelves.
amazing. So when we say processed foods, it doesn't always mean a bad thing. There can be processing that's actually to your benefit. Obviously, the way the food industry is now, we're a little bit more skeptical, right? But I think it's worth it to just talk about the different levels of processing so that when you have a quote unquote processed food in your hand, you know kind of what role it plays in your nutrition landscape. And you can kind of right size any judgment that you get from outside sources. So let's talk about those levels because I do think it's important to like really categorize. And I think people like categories so we can like, you know, get clear on.
Visualize.
Yeah, visualize and get clear on what things are. And we will provide infographics for some of these so that they're easier for you guys to see. Um,
So make sure you go to the Instagram.
yeah, so go to our Instagram and also to the Spotify notes. I think we'll put them in there too. But let's start with the easy one. So, whole foods. These foods are in the form found in nature or closest to it. So, I was giving the blueberry example. This would be considered a whole food. So, anything like fruits, vegetables, even the potato that you might be digging up in your backyard, even if it's not digging up in your backyard, but you get the potato and it still has a little bit of dirt on it and you know that it hasn't been tainted in any way, that's a whole food. And then we move into minimally processed foods. These foods have been slightly modified without substantially changing the nutritional content. So, Kelsey, give me some examples of that.
So that could be something like milk, right? So you have like a pasteurization process that approves it to be on our shelves, right? And it's doing nothing to the actual milk from the cow. They just heat it to a certain degree to get rid of the bacteria. That's all that the pasteurization does. Things like eggs, rice, and grains. So if you have like brown rice, that's going to be minimally processed. It's still its like true form, but it has gone through some sort of milling process to be on the shelves.
Perfect. So then we'll move into moderately processed foods. So this is a step up. These foods have been significantly modified, which can reduce or affect the nutritional value by adding or removing components. Give me some
Yeah, so
examples
that
of
could
that.
be something so in like a moderately processed, that could be something like a sweet potato fry or applesauce, right? Like it's got some things added. If you think about applesauce, like it's probably got a little bit of sugar added for sweetness. It's got some preservatives so it can last on the shelves, things like that. So while they
Citric
can still
acid.
provide yeah, while they citric acid to preserve,
Uh-huh.
yes. While they can still provide some nutritional content, they are further from their original source. That doesn't make them bad. It's still got some nutritional value. And then when we move to the farthest end of the spectrum, we have ultra processed food, and that's where it gets a bit dicey. So this can include things like store bought chicken nuggets or fast food chain restaurants. These foods often have like negligible nutritional value, but does that mean they're off limits?
Let's get into it.
Do you have an opinion on that?
Um, I think that there is a place for most foods in any part of someone's diet, and I think it always comes back to intent. How boring is that? But it's true. It's like it depends on the intent. So I think ultra processed foods, a very simple example is that lifter, that bodybuilder eating gummy bears during their workouts. When you need a very quick and easily digestible source of glucose, carbs to support your training, gummy bears is a great example. Quick hit of carbs where you get a little bit of fuel that your body doesn't have, your gut isn't pulling a ton of blood from your extremities to try to digest this food. So because it's already processed, your body can quickly assimilate it to nutrients to use right away. So
Yeah.
that's a great example of having, some processed foods in your diet, but that's not going to work for
Yeah.
everybody.
When we think about ultra processed food, so things like fast food chains or store bought chicken nuggets or everybody's favorite, like the Annie's mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Have you had those?
Yeah.
So good,
Yeah.
right? But do we wanna have that for every single meal? Probably not. But is it sometimes what you gotta do just to get a meal in? Sure.
Yeah.
There's plenty of nights that I get home from work and I'm just so exhausted that I just want, like, a boxed mac and cheese, and then I put some rotisserie chicken on it. So there's ways that you can make them
And
better,
even in that scenario, you are cooking at home still, right? You could
right?
order from the restaurant next door and get mac and cheese, but then you're going to have a little bit less control over what other ads and things are in it. When you're eating a packaged food at home, it's pretty easy to identify what you're eating and what's in there. So in some ways, that could actually be a better option than
Yeah.
Instacarting for the fifth night in a row.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
And when we think about like ultra processed foods in the diet, right? Like they can crowd out some of the more nutritious foods. So if that's the case, we might just have to like get a little real
Yeah.
with ourselves of like, okay, I have had Burger King, McDonald's, Subway 5 times this week for 3 meals a day. that's where it might get a little dicey.
Yeah.
So maybe we, find the middleman and okay, if we have it's just all we can do for dinners because we're taking care of kids or we're doing whatever else. Okay, fine. Let's see if we can maybe on one of the weekend days prepare a big batch of something that we can have at least for one meal to try to bridge that gap to get you some of the nutrients that you do need.
Yeah. And even your mac and cheese example, say you're like, I simply cannot do anything beyond make this. Great. That plus a protein shake, that's a fully balanced meal if you ask me. Is it ultra
Yep,
processed? Sure is. Are you going to be hungry in about an hour? Maybe. But I think
probably.
but you know what? That might be better than you ordering from the Cheesecake Factory and getting a 2,000 calorie serving that you're going to be so tempted to eat
Yeah.
the whole thing. So in scenarios like that where we're all busy, we've all got a lot of stuff going on, but things that come in packages or are pre-cooked or and we'll get into convenience later. I just think that it's important to anti-demonize packaged foods for busy people, but like you said, highlight the times where you can get a little bit of real food in there to balance the scales.
Yeah. And I'm curious to you know, lay it all out for our listeners. Like, where are there places in your life that you do consume ultra processed
Oh
things?
my gosh, I can't wait to talk about this. Based like and as everybody's listening, I moved here from San Diego and the last month and a half, 2 months, I've been on a convenience food diet. So when I tell you there's no shame in our game, we totally mean it. And an example of this is last week we were talking, I went to Whole Foods and basically did my meal prep at Whole Foods, just bought pre-cooked things, and that's what I've been doing. Last night was the first or no, Tuesday was the first day I actually cooked something fresh in my apartment. So,
But you were even buying things that were already they were still technically quote unquote whole foods that had a little bit of processing done, but
yes.
you got bag salads and grilled chicken breast. It wasn't necessarily like you were going to Subway every night, right?
Right. No, but I have been eating packaged foods as a lot of my carb sources. Like I was not
Mhm.
getting a ton of like high quality, minimally processed carb options available to me. So there were times
Mhm.
where I was eating like I was like, okay, oh, this Rice Krispie treat's a little bit of carbs or
I was just gonna
yeah,
say Rice Krispie treats.
I am a Rice Krispie treat slut, SLUT
Yeah,
slut. I could eat
capital
a
S.
Rice Krispie treat at any point of the day. If you woke me up with the smell of a Rice Krispie treat, I will be drooling and a feral rat for it. So
I wanna test that.
okay, come on over, Kels. Let's do this. So when it comes to ultra processed foods, especially carbs, I think about my timing of it the most. Have I had Rice Krispie treats at 11 p.m.? Sure, of course I have. But if I'm thinking about times where they really benefit me, it's like around my workout times because my metabolism is the quickest and I'm just in a glucose burning mode. The other
Yeah.
times where ultra processed foods have come into my life are after late nights out. So
Oh, yeah.
I've had a few of them since moving here where I'm out late with friends, drinking, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm starving," and I Instacart something or, pick up something on the way home.
That made me think about, is there anything better than being, a little hungover and you, order Chinese food or,
Mhm.
something really greasy and you're just like, "Wow, I've never felt worse, but also not better at the same
Yeah,
time."
it's like the oil and, like, everything that you're adding into your body definitely, like, makes you feel worse, but your dopamine's
Yeah.
so high after being so
Yeah.
depleted from drinking.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
How about
I
you?
definitely incorporate some ultra processed things in my routine, honestly, regularly because so I often see clients starting at 6 a.m. So that requires me to be up at 5 and have a breakfast ready to go with me because I'm not the next chance that I'm going to get to eat is either between clients or 4 or 5 hours from that point. So I have been simply for convenience just making the Jimmy Dean's breakfast sandwiches every day that I have morning clients because it's what is practical for me right now. Could I make my own breakfast sandwich using a better option of bread and a better option of turkey? Absolutely. Is it what works for me right now? Yep. So I do what I can in other places
Mhm.
to consume more vegetables in my diet.
It's like the crowd out. I love that term that you use is like the crowd out. If I'm gonna have my
Mhm.
Jimmy Dean's first thing in the morning, I'm gonna crowd out that quote unquote processed or ultra processed thing with all of
Yeah.
these other whole foods that may not even take a lot of time. Like if breakfast you have a Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausage or sandwich, and then lunch you have, a big salad with a bunch of whole foods and maybe some grains and protein, and then for dinner
Yep.
you're having your sushi nigiri and some other form of protein. Tell me that's not like a great diet. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Sounds pretty balanced to me.
One thing I want to talk
So
about
maybe,
though
yeah,
is
hit me.
when we make sushi at your house, we use canola oil spray. So let's talk about that.
Mm. Yeah, perfect segue into the third thing that you need to know about processed foods. We kind of glossed over this, but these are the 5 things that you need to know. So one was
Processed food doesn't always mean bad.
and number 2 was that there's levels to processing.
Yes.
So moving into number 3, the third thing that you need to know about seed oils and food dyes. Where do they fall? Are they as bad as social media wants to tell us? So the truth is that your overall diet and lifestyle matter way more than whether you swapped your olive oil for avocado oil. So if you're eating mostly whole foods, staying active, managing stress, and sleeping well, or at least doing your best to do all of those things, worrying about a little bit of canola oil in your stir fry or sesame oil is kind of like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The alternative oils at the end of the day still pack a hefty punch calorically. And if a greater body weight is a greater predictor of poor health status, we should be finding a ways to incorporate more health promoting foods. So, yes, maybe we should focus on like not necessarily like swapping oils, but maybe finding ways to incorporate other nutrient dense foods into your diet.
Yeah. I think again, dose is the poison, right? If you
Yeah.
if you are having some canola oil because that's what you got for your spray, fine. But are you using canola oil on a super low quality meal or are you using it on like a high quality meal? I think like with
Right.
when it comes to things like oils, how often do we really buy oils? It's like you buy one, it stays on your shelf for a couple months and then you swap it out. So use
Yeah.
whatever you have in your pantry now. Just use it up. Don't waste it. Like use it up if you want, and then just buy coconut, avocado oil, butter. Those are like my main 3 that I always have on hand, like an avocado
Yeah.
spray.
And, like, sesame oil is underrated. Like, she's so good, especially if you're making, like, a stir fry. And also, if we look at Asian cultures where sesame oil tends to be predominant, they're gonna be way healthier than a Western diet, right?
Mhm.
Like, so equating those things to bad isn't the problem.
Right.
We know that as Americans, we tend to eat more from a caloric standpoint than any other country out there. So, I
And
think
what
that tends to be the larger issue.
exactly, and what is the most calorically dense thing we can eat? Fats.
Fat.
That's not because fats are bad, they just pack more of a punch, so you have to be a little bit more cognizant of with them, and also from the quality perspective, like you said, the seed oils and oils have been demonized kind of wrongly. What we should be talking about
Mhm.
is the smoke point of cooking oils.
Boom, yes, and so many fast food chains continue cooking on the same oil, so you're constantly reheating these oils. The chains get broken down. That's what causes cancerous substrates. It causes, like, atherosclerosis, so many other things than just, like, this one seed oil.
Yeah. And that actually speaks to why people feel bloated or quote unquote inflamed or puffy after eating out. Sure, it's the salt. Sure, it could be the extra carbs. But also, these inflammatory oils do contribute, I might even say heavily, to your inflammatory responses and how you look and feel after going out to eat. Again, are we demonizing you going and getting Chinese food or going to get a Big Mac every now and again? No, but
Nope.
you get to decide how you want to feel the next morning and if it's worth it to you. Sometimes it's going
Yep.
to be, sometimes it's
Yep.
not going to be, and you can just grab a frozen burger out of your freezer because I know your freezer's packed and cook something that you already have.
So you mentioned convenience, and I feel like what you're saying is the perfect
Yes.
segue is when does convenience stop being convenient?
Number
Which
4,
happens to be number 4.
numero quattro, number 4, when convenience stops being convenient. Well, the big reason people lean into processed foods, and like I have over the last couple of months, cost and convenience. We are not robots. I'm certainly not a robot. We can be robotic in certain ways, but really that just means ritualized, right?
Habitual. Yep.
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 And like we always say, consistency doesn't mean perfection. And in fact, when you strive for perfection all the time, you end up being less consistent because you're using like a poor metric. Here's the twist. At what point does convenience actually start costing you energy, focus, or your health goals? Because sometimes cooking once or twice gives you enough food for like a week, 2 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks if you freeze it, which is more affordable and kind of better nutrient profile. So let's
Mhm.
discuss it. When for you does convenience stop being convenient?
Yeah, I mean, my mind directly goes to like when you're traveling, right? Like, especially if you're going somewhere where there's a lot of alcohol and you're not really active. So, like, think of like a beach vacation or a
Ugh,
resort. You're probably just, which is great, you're probably just sitting at the pool, having some Mai Tais or
mm,
martinis. You're also eating burgers and fries and pizza. And then, like, within a few days, you start to feel like really gross. You feel like that body dysmorphia where you're like, "I look like shit," even though that's not how that works. Um, and your energy just feels, like, heavy, right?
yeah.
That's to me where it stops being convenient.
Mhm.
So we wanna find that, like, middle ground of, like, okay, convenience, maybe you do have to get real with yourself. Like, I know a lot of people say that they can't meal prep because they don't like reheated food. Okay, let's find ways where maybe you can do something or there's a way that you can cook like fast meals every night. Like you use your air fryer a lot. So
Mhm.
like finding some sort of tool that may be a little bit of an investment up front and get you to eat a little bit more frequently at home, even if you're still going to rely on some of those convenience foods.
Yeah. Put your food reheat it in the air fryer, put it on a skillet. Microwaving just doesn't make your food taste amazing. It just doesn't. So,
Yeah.
like, do it when you can because or when you need to, but I if you have a couple extra minutes, I highly suggest getting those liners, like those paper liners or even a silicone liner for an air fryer, popping it in there, frying it up. It's gonna taste so much better. You can also re-season your food. Sometimes I'll do that too. I'll just add a
Mhm.
little sprinkling of whatever I seasoned it with, add sauces. Like, that's been really helpful for me.
Yep.
Is like I got this, like, Happy Meal from Whole Foods. It had, like, 4 portions of green beans, sweet potatoes, and chicken, and by day 2 or 3, I was like, "I'm sick of this." So, I
Yeah.
just popped it in the air fryer with, like, this Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce thing and just, like, mixed it all up and then air fried it, and it was delicious, and I can eat it.
Yeah, and you can make your meals feel different with the same exact, like, base
Yeah,
by using different meals. Like you said, buffalo, you could also do mustard, things that are lower in calories, even, like, some of the Japanese, or Korean barbecue sauces,
yeah,
like 2 tablespoons. Personally, I try to keep, like, my caloric investment for those things, like, under 120 per 2 tablespoons. So, like, the Korean barbecue, I think, has, like, 90 or 100 or something for 2
calories.
tablespoons, so that's yeah, calories. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah,
And also changing the vehicle at which you, like, eat the food, I think matters.
great
Like,
point.
you could put your broccoli, like, it might be weird, but you could put your green beans and chicken in a little tortilla and make it like a little taco vehicle
Yeah.
as opposed to eating it on a fork. You could do, like, a pita and hummus, like, find different ways to do the same thing in different ways that, like, feels good.
And it stops being convenient when you have foods that like I have these, gluten-free chicken nuggets in my freezer. Like, that's not gonna be convenient for me to cook and eat when it takes the same amount of time for me to cook and eat a real meal. So that's kind
Right.
of the trade-off that I've been experiencing as I'm stepping into cooking more for myself and, like, making more home-cooked meals, is that some of these convenience foods that I've purchased to have on hand just, like, don't feel as convenient because the same amount of time it takes to make those foods, I could just, like, make something better, and really it just takes more planning. Like, "Oh, I should just
Right.
Instacart, some groceries," or, "I should just, like, remind myself that I need to get some real chicken next time."
One more thing, it also, like, stops being convenient when it's impacting your health and, like, the way that you feel about yourself and your body.
Mhm.
So if your convenience choices has now led you to, say, weight gain or to being unhappy with the way that you look with your body, now you have to not only invest time to figure out when you can cook food. You have to figure out time to invest when you can go to the gym, when you can step away from your responsibilities, whether that's family or your professional life.
Mhm.
You're having to make sacrifices because of the choice. Like, and we all have to make sacrifices. We all have to hold ourselves accountable. It just becomes harder the longer you wait.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better. And I think that stepping into a new season of your nutrition, you don't have to overhaul it. If your nutrition right now is filled with processed foods, just identify 1 or 2 things that would be super easy to make a swap with. And if, wherever you are on the food processing spectrum, it may not be even be like, I'm swapping my sweet potato fries for an apple. It could be like, I'm swapping my sweet potato fries for a siete tortilla. Still processed, better ingredients,
Mhm.
less calories, more volume. Like there's these trade-offs here. And so let's talk about number 5, affordable wins. So how to really shop smart if you are someone in a season of life who maybe you do need to lean on some processed foods. Like you don't need to live at Whole Foods to eat better, but some of the healthiest foods, beans, rice, frozen veggies, eggs, canned tuna, they're all super budget friendly.
And if you can, cooking more at home is a game changer. So, like you mentioned, sweet potato fries, like instead of buying them frozen, maybe you have a little bit of time between meetings. You can chop up a sweet potato and then come back when you're off work, pop them into the oven, and boom, you've made your own sweet potato
Or
fries.
you can even
Are
put
they
that
going to
sweet
be
potato in the oven at 400 for like 20 minutes and you have a whole ass sweet potato cooked for you.
There you go. Yeah, so finding ways where you can, like, maybe swap some of the ultra processed stuff for things that are probably going to be more nutritionally better for you.
Mhm.
So I know that you have a lot of convenience food tips. I would love to just do, like, a rapid fire of, like, okay, let's start with protein, some of the, like, options you do for convenience proteins. Let's do some, like, color and vegetables. We'll do some carbs and some fats. Give us
Yeah.
a quick little, like, pop, pop, pop.
You got it. So the hot tip is that I have not been tracking my food during this time. I've been truly using like what I call the plate method. So the way that I break up my meals is in this way. It's adjacent to macros. What's my protein? What's my fiber or color? What are my carbs and what are my fats? So even in a processed environment, I can still shop that way and eat that way. So for proteins, I always look when I'm getting a packaged or pre-cooked protein option, I always look for a greater than 1-to-1 ratio of protein to fat. So look at the protein macro and the fat macro and make sure there's more protein than fat because some of those pre-cooked proteins can really drive up the fats. So some of
Yep.
those are like deli meats, chicken and turkey sausages like Amy Lou, Adele's, grilled chicken strips or chicken breasts. Whole Foods has these, Trader Joe's has these, canned tuna, canned salmon, sardines, even if you're a little, food
If you're a little
food
edgy.
edgy, and then pre-mixed protein shakes. I have protein powder in my house, but even just grabbing and going with just a pre-mixed one in its own container saved me a bit of time and was helpful for me. But some things that I would do are like pre-washed salad kits, riced
Oh, yeah, I love
cauliflower.
those. Like the Taylor Farms salad kits.
Yes, but
I love me some of those.
I don't eat their dressing. I make my own dressing or I have like a.
Oh, I definitely eat their
Oh, you do?
dressing.
Okay. I
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
will make my own dressing because I can make, like, a zero-calorie one with, like,
Mm.
lemon juice, coconut aminos, seasonings, and, like, hot sauce or, like,
Oh, yeah.
mustard,
Nice. Nice.
Pre-cooked lentils or beans, especially from Trader Joe's, fermented veggies like sauerkraut, kimchi, I was adding some of that to my meals. A lot of carbs are are shelf safe, but I would really stick
Mhm.
to microwavable or frozen quinoa, brown rice, white rice. I also had frozen sweet potatoes, frozen veggies. I had some gluten-free bread that I was keeping in my freezer that I could just easily toast and go. And then as we talked about, unsweetened applesauce or, fruit that's like 100% fruit juice. Like I was having some like tart cherry juice at night, things like that. And then dried fruit. So always look for no added sugar. Sometimes the marketing can get a little finicky, but with dried fruit, definitely just turn it around and make sure that the only ingredient is that exact fruit.
Yeah. And I think you maybe mentioned oats.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a lot of the like what you'd want to find try to is the plain oats. A lot of the like Quaker, like do you remember as a kid eating the Quaker oats and it was like the maple brown sugar,
Yes.
apples and cinnamon or whatever flavor? It was freaking amazing. But it has like 20 grams of sugar or something insane. So while those are like fine, maybe it's not an everyday thing. Maybe you try to find one that's like only sweetened a little bit.
Right, and it just bumps up the carbs so much, but I would raw dog those oatmeal packs. I would eat those raw. They were so good.
Like, oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah. I thought
spoon
you were saying like dry.
I was eating them
Wait,
dry.
what?
Yes, because I liked them so much.
Oh my gosh.
So, the places that I typically shop for these, like, healthier processed or packaged foods are Aldi, Costco, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods.
Sprouts.
Sprouts and Whole Foods, yeah.
I think Sprouts tends to be like the cheaper of like the whole food option, right? Like
I
Whole
would say
Foods is kind of like the bougie girl,
mhm.
and Sprouts is like, I want to be a little bit more conscious. I personally like a Sprouts for that reason because like anytime I walk into Whole Foods, I'm like, why did I just spend $400 on 3
And how did
things?
I spend $400?
One time I made the mistake of going, what's that one in San Diego and Hillcrest across from the Whole Foods? It's like the Erewhon, but the San Diego
Lazy
version.
Acres. Oh
Lazy
my god, I
Acres.
literally just sent someone the Google Maps to that because I was like, "You must go to this grocery store."
It's okay, no, it's overrated. I
Oh.
bought 1 piece of salmon and, like, one other thing, and it was $120, and I was like, "What the fuck
Well, did the salmon
is
have
this?"
gold flakes or not? I'm just kidding.
It it better.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm a Costco girl through and through, and I will die on this hill. If you wanna be affordable, even if you're solo, you can freeze some of the stuff. Go to Costco because it will be so much cheaper for you. Like, one of my best friends goes to Costco, she's single, and she will just buy, like, the big ground turkey and then eat one of the squares once a week, and then it lasts her a month.
Yeah, I think outsourcing can really help you. Convenience foods. I Instacart a lot of my groceries when I quote unquote don't have time or just don't make the time truly. And I outsource my cooking to the grocery store. So I think that when we look at what's okay and what's good and not good, it's going to have to come back to what season of life are you in? Are you in a super busy season of life? Great. Now is probably the time for you to lean a little on those convenience foods. Don't just do it because you quote unquote can. What's the hardest thing to get? Protein.
Yeah,
Okay, if you need to
protein.
outsource a little protein, go to Trader Joe's, get 3 packages of those pre-cooked chicken breast, chop them up and put them in a Tupperware, and now you literally have your meal prep done for the week for protein.
I also love in those moments getting a rotisserie chicken, and some grocery stores will even already pull it off the,
Gross.
like, bones for you. Costco has the loss leader of the rotisserie chicken is their loss leader. It's $5, and it's this massive chicken, and it'll last you, like, if you're, let's say, a couple of 2, it'll last you all week,
Yeah.
and then you can put it on your Annie's mac and cheese, you could put it on tacos, you could do anything with it. As long as you have some sort of protein available for you, you can munch on it plain for all I frickin' care.
I was raw dog putting a whole ass chicken breast in a Ziploc bag with like 3
Yep,
wedges of sweet potato, and I was like, "This is my lunch," and it was
yep.
awesome. I had a little mini hummus cup that I put in my, backpack, and then I had a Ziploc bag, chicken and sweet potatoes, and I just dipped her on in there.
And you're gonna feel so much better for it,
Yes.
like your energy, your mental focus, like everything will just feel so much better. So, the takeaway is, should we avoid processed foods altogether? Not
Nope.
necessarily. Yep, Bree is shouting from the rooftop, "No, you should not." Focus on the big picture, eating more whole foods, of course, cooking more at home where you can, and not stressing about every single ingredient that TikTok or Instagram wants to villainize or tells you to
Yeah,
avoid.
and next time you see someone fear-mongering about seed oils or food dyes or sugar, just remember that health isn't built in your pantry overnight, and if you're seeing a snapshot of someone's one meal, you don't see the other 27 that they have in a week. So, it's the daily little choices that do add up.
So if you loved this episode, please, please, please share it with a friend who's about to dump their entire pantry or have a mentee bee about not being able to eat anything, and remind them you don't have to be perfect to be healthy.
And of course, if you want us to break down another trendy health topic, slide into our DMs or leave us a comment. Follow us at Kelsey Michelle, at Brianna Lamb, and at Overt Thinking Podcast. Until
And we
then,
will see you
in the next episode.